Today on the Ave Podcast, look, I'm back. All right, see what happened was, okay, look. What was supposed to be a holiday hiatus turned into over 6 weeks of inactivity. I do apologize, but real life got in the way, and I'm being serious. Real life got in the way, and without giving away everything, one of my immediate family members got really sick over the holidays, hospitalization for over a week, and I had to, play my part to support them, and which was then followed up with me being completely bedridden with the flu for almost a week, which was then followed up, by a close family member passing around the same time as well, and I actually had to travel to Trinidad for the funeral. Just a ton of stuff going on right now, which really cut into the recording times, and with so much going on, I either couldn't actually record or I just physically couldn't do it. But even with all that said, I'm truly grateful for my family. I love them to death. I really do. I feel energized, and I'm chomping at the bit, man. I'm ready to go. I missed all the Cat Williams shit, which hurt me a bit, but I'll address it somewhat next week. But with the first episode of 2024, I'm jumping into the NFL Championship weekend with the AFC and NFC titles at stake. With my Niners in the cusp of getting another Super Bowl and bringing in a 6th ring, I got to jump in on this. And even though it's going to be a little shorter, I got to get into it. I'm joined by my annual NFL playoff guest, Roger Callender, as we dive into Sunday's matchups. I'm not holding up this podcast for too much longer. I want to get started right now, get this pod over to your ears. So hit me with the 5 stars while you're listening, and from whatever podcast platform that you're locked into right now, subscribe to SouthSharive.com for the catalog, and let's get into it. It's the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Sharive Radio. Oh, and before we begin this, I got to say my part really quick about the Milwaukee Bucks. I hated what they did in terms of getting rid of Adrian Griffin. Look, and I heard this stat this morning, actually, that, which makes things a little more confusing. After about 5 games and Adrian Griffin was trying to run a certain defensive scheme, the team kind of balked at it, and they wanted to go back to the defensive schemes that they're running throughout the past. So Adrian Griffin, at about 5 or 6 games, let it go. He said, okay, we're going to change the defense. And that resulted in him being 24th in the league in defense, and everybody's shitting on him for being terrible defensively. And number one, that shouldn't fall on Adrian Griffin's feet, because I don't think he wanted to run those schemes based on the personnel that they had. Number two, the personnel that they had, they got rid of one of the premier defenders in the league for Damian Lillard, which is a top 75 player who's still in his prime. And if you're going to do that, they basically changed from a defensive identity to an offensive identity. So if you're going to be a good defensive team, I don't think they're going to be, at least with the roster that they have, they're not going to be a top-tier defensive team. You want to be somewhere in the middle of the pack. This is what they sacrificed when they made this trade. So with that said, you got to give it a little bit of time. I know everybody's comparing everything to David Blatt, back in 2015, 2016 with the Cavaliers, but at least he had a season and a half to try to get it right. He made it to the finals. It just didn't work after a year and a half. This was 4 months. They're the 3rd best team in the NBA. To me, you got to give them a little bit of time, at least a little bit of time. And I know they're built to win now, and I get that too. But here's the thing, though. Everybody's under contract for at least another couple of years. This is not a situation where, like, Giannis is going to be a free agent next year, or Dame can opt out, or you might lose Brooke, you might lose Middleton. Everybody's under contract for at least 3 years. So try to make a trade during the trade deadline and see who you can get that can help on the perimeter defensively. To me, I think that's all they had to do. Maybe change up some schemes. You still had time to work this out. Like, you want to be really rolling by like March, April, like after the All-Star break, to make this firing 43 games into the season. I feel sorry for Adrian Griffin, because, from all intents and purposes, this man has went out for 14 different jobs and did not get hired for any of them. He finally gets his job. It's a good job. He does good with it. I'm not going to say incredible, but he does good with it. And the man is fired. And then you hire Doc Rivers to make this up. But I mean, I'm just going to brush over the fact that he was the consultant after the playing tournament for Adrian Griffin. I'm going to, ignore that for a moment. Listen, I think Doc is a good coach, and I know he's top 15 coach of all time in terms of the, not necessarily in terms of wins, but in terms of, him getting voted for it, for the top 75 that they did 2 years ago. He was one of the top 15 coaches, which at the time I was kind of surprised by because, and I'm not saying he's not a good coach. He is a good coach. In some cases, he could be a really good coach in the regular season. But it's hard to ignore that playoff history, especially after leaving Boston. Because if you think about this, after he left Boston, he's had some great talent. And it's gone sideways on him a little bit. Some bad luck here and there, some injuries, some shit shows coming down the pipeline for him. But with that being said, he hasn't made a conference final in over 12 years. And this is not a situation where after Boston he took a year off, took 2 years off. He hasn't stopped coaching since 2003. And with the rosters and the talent that he had, 12 years is a long time. It's almost inexcusable not to make a conference final. Forget a final. To make a conference final. Like that to me is almost preposterous. And, to look back even at that Boston experience, right? They won the title in 2008. I believe they won like 66 to 68 games, something around that. I'm not sure. I'm going off the top of my head here. But with that said, in that season when they won the chip, right, you could only play 28 games maximum in the playoffs. That's 4 7-game series. That's if you play every game to the 7th game, it's 28 games, right? They played 26 in a truly dominant regular season. They went 7 games in the first round against an Atlanta Hawks team that didn't even win 40 games that season. They won, I think, either 37 or 39 games, something like that. And then the second round, they played LeBron where they almost lost Game 7. LeBron had 45. I think Pierce had about 40. And that game went literally down to the wire, which at the time it wasn't a strong Cleveland team at that time. This is before LeBron started winning his MVPs. He was still on the come-up. And then you went 6 games with Detroit. You went 6 games with LA. You finally found your footing and won. But they went 16-10 on the way to winning the title. That's one of the worst records championship team has had in the playoffs. I don't know if it's the worst, but it's definitely one of the worst. They lost 10 games in the playoffs that season. So I'm not taking anything away from it because they earned their ring. But even that season was like, that shit was a dogfight. I actually give Doc more respect for the 2010 season when, the expectations was a little bit lowered. Cleveland was really reigning. Orlando just came off of winning not winning the Eastern Conference the year before. They basically handled both those teams. And if Kendrick Perkins doesn't tear his knee in Game 6 of the finals, I mean, Boston might have won their second title in 3 years. I actually thought that coaching job by Doc Rivers was more impressive than it was in 2008, believe it or not. But ever since then, ever since that Boston experience, this man has not been able to reach a conference final. And now you're getting another opportunity again to coach Giannis and Dame. And I mean, I get it. I totally get it. You almost can't pass that up if it comes across your lap, especially if you still want to coach. And believe you and me, he still wanted to coach. At the same time, though, it's like you've never taken a break to learn from the reasons why you keep failing in the playoffs, at least to those degrees where you're giving up 3-1 leads, and every time you have the advantage in an elimination game, you're always losing it. Like, you've never taken a year off or a couple of years off to say, okay, let me reassess, let me see why this is happening. Like, you're just going from job to job to job, and the results are still the same. Like, if they don't make this, if they don't win a championship in the next 3 years, it's all going to fall on him. And I think his record is going to get stained. At least his reputation is going to get stained. I'm surprised that somebody went after him this fast. But again, it's part of course, right? Like, it's something that I know he wanted to get back into coaching. What better roster to coach than Giannis, who's a top 3 player at worst, and Dame, who's still a top 75 player, and he's still in his prime. I get it, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. I don't think he's the right coach for this team personally, but we'll see what happens with it. But I'm not impressed. I did not like how things went down in Milwaukee, and I feel sorry for Adrian Griffin. I thought that was terrible, like beyond terrible. And also, I'm dedicating this episode to cousin B, to Brian. I and we all got you, and the love will never change, my brother. And continue to honor the legacy like you always do. I'm proud of you, sir. Seriously, I'm proud of you. Let's go.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Shore Ave Radio.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast. This is the NFL Championship weekend, and I'm here with my annual football South Shore Ave analyst, guest of the podcast, Roger Callender. How you doing today, sir?
Not too bad. How you doing, Kelsey?
I'm doing good, man. The playoffs has been quite interesting so far, man, and now we're on to the Big Four.
Oh yeah.
Which what are your thoughts on the playoffs so far?
So far, so good. We've had some really good games. I can't complain at all. They've been highly competitive. I don't think any team has really dominated. Well, aside from the Ravens, that Ravens game that they had with the Texans. Yeah, that was a little bit of a blowout. But, aside from that, highly competitive. And what I really do appreciate is seems to be a lot of young, talented quarterbacks that have come in the league.
Yeah. And
that's nice to seeing how, the old guard has kind of moved on. And now the young up-and-comers are coming up.
And they're black. They're black.
Yes, thank God. Yes. 1,000%. 100%.
They're black.
Great to see. Great to see.
It's about time.
It really is. It really is.
But I have to say, and I'll probably discuss it more in terms of wrapping up the playoffs next week. But C.J. Stroud, man, his performance this season has been as impressive a rookie season that I've seen in a long time, probably since Andrew Luck.
I agree completely. He has played phenomenal, and the crazy thing is, he was probably 10 seconds away from possibly being drafted by Carolina, and then Carolina's owner actually decided, nope, I'm going to go with Bryce Young, and I'm going to pass on CJ, and that was the best decision CJ could have possibly ever hoped for. Yeah, it's crazy. His season's been amazing.
Yeah,
I'm shocked. I thought they were going to absolutely suck, just because of the lack of talent on the Texans. But he just goes to show you a good quarterback can lift everybody up.
Yeah, but they say rising tide lifts all boats, right? He's the rising tide.
100%. He made Nico Collins very, very, very dangerous as a wide receiver, which I don't think has happened in quite a long time. And
Tank Dell, he's a second year player. He's not a rookie. He's like a second or third year player too, right?
Yeah. Tank Dell's I believe he's a second year player, and he played amazing. Even their run game, they had Pierce there, who was the running back, the incumbent running back from last year.
But he barely played.
I'm not even sure what happened to him. He completely dropped off. Yeah. And it was Singletary's backfield. And Singletary, when was the last time we heard that name,
I know.
Crazy.
But he played well. That's the thing. It's just his poise. Because even that game when the last game of the year when they played the Colts, and I was like, mind you, the Colts had Minshew, so it's not like he was going up against a star, but just the poise throughout the game. You know what I mean? Because there was a point in the game that was really close, and it looked like Indy could have taken it, and then he just stayed poised the whole time. It's like his poise is what amazes me with him.
Absolutely, 100%. I find he's like a very similar player to Love, Jordan Love.
Yeah.
They don't get rattled, and that's the crazy part. They're getting blitzed, they take a few steps back, and they deliver the ball. Very poised, very strong arms, great patience, very accurate. It's fantastic to see. It's great, and I don't think anybody saw this coming.
No, not at all. The only thing with Love is that at the end he went full Favre, at the end of that last pass. He went full Favre.
He did. I think I think his back was against the wall. His kicker missed that kick, which probably would have at least tied up the game, or it would definitely tied up the game. And then he threw a bad pass that got picked off. I mean, which is funny because he hadn't thrown any, like, when I watched the whole game, and I think out of all of his passes, like, I don't think not one pass was even close to being picked off. But he's young.
He played great the last half of the season for sure. Because the first half you weren't sure, like how he was gonna be. It just looked like it looked like one of those things where it's like, you know what, he probably has talent, but you got to give him a year or so.
100%. And he has a track team for wide receivers.
Yeah,
like it's crazy. Where'd these guys come from? Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed,
Dubs.
Romeo Dubs. He was there last year. Like, I mean, I didn't know who any of these guys were, and then all of a sudden they just started scoring touchdowns, and I was like, whoa. Everybody kind of took notice.
Yeah. They seem like, excuse me, they're in a great position right now because most of their skill talent is all young. They're all on rookie contracts. So this is like the time right now to, like, you got a rookie QB. You can stockpile the other positions for the next couple of years, but right now a lot of the skill positions are all young too. So this is a great time to be good.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, especially in his first year. They just need a few more pieces too. I mean, they were so close to beating San Francisco.
Yeah,
they were so close.
I hate to admit that, but yes.
I mean, Aaron Jones. Like, where did this guy come from? He looked like the old Aaron Jones from like 5 years ago when he was with when he was playing before. Like, he just had like another level of juice to him. It was crazy. I think if they just get a few more defensive pieces and maybe shore up the O-line a little bit better, my God, they're going to be scary.
They're right there.
They are right there.
They're right there. And especially the way they handle the Cowboys. I mean, that's a whole other story. We'll get into that later, like maybe next week. But
that was beautiful.
But that was crazy. I mean, that was super wild. Like, they just couldn't be studied. They manhandled that defense, and that defense was like a top 5 D in the league. And they
manhandled the defense. They just took them apart. It was crazy. Dallas couldn't just stop anything. Whether they were running, whether they were passing, it didn't matter. Dallas looked like they were just on their heels the whole game, and right from the start too. A complete dismantling.
No, that was wild. But you know what? Let's get into the AFC and NFC Championship games right now. I'm going to save my Niners for last because it's my Niners, right? I'm being biased. I want to save the best for last. But we'll start with the Chiefs and the Ravens. Does KC have Baltimore's number?
They could. They very well could. I'll tell you one thing. If there is a year for Baltimore to beat KC, it would definitely be this year.
Yeah, it's right now.
And I think that if they don't beat them, I'm convinced that they might never beat them, honestly.
Yeah.
Baltimore has the MVP as a quarterback. Lamar Jackson had a fantastic year.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense was flying down the field. Did you know that they beat all the teams that were over 500? They beat them by more than 14 points each. And we're talking about tough teams like San Francisco and San Francisco, the Cowboys, like top teams. They completely took them apart. Miami. Oh my God, it was crazy. Their defense, number 1 defense in the league. They stopped the run. They're fantastic. Like, they're literally flying on all cylinders. And then KC. I mean, KC had an up and down season. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Last game, he had a phenomenal game. Rashee Rice is definitely going to be the next big wide receiver, I think, next year, and for the next couple of years too. I think that Patrick Mahomes, he's such a force right now. Like, he's like almost like Jordan, whereas he is basically stopping other players from getting Super Bowls and getting MVPs. He's just that good.
Yeah.
It's going to be one hell of a battle. Personally, I'm going for Lamar Jackson and Baltimore, just simply for the fact that I'm tired of seeing Taylor Swift, and I definitely do not want to see Brittany Mahomes. Like, I'm completely tired of them. I need somebody to stop this reign of terror.
Yeah.
But I mean, this game could go either way. I want to say I'm leaning towards Baltimore.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're going against the Chiefs.
Save your prediction. Save your prediction for the last part. But
yeah, no worries.
Yeah, but it's interesting because when you look at their matchup, they've played against each other 4 times, and Pat has the 3-1 advantage on him. And the one game that Lamar won, I actually remember that game. I think it was in Baltimore, and they basically got that win by the skin of their teeth, if you remember. Like, pretty much every time they've played Kansas City, like, Kansas City has pretty much manhandled them. Now, I think a large part of those victories, though, is at the time is due to the fact that KC's talent was just way better than Baltimore's at the time. I wouldn't say way better, but just better. It was just better. You know what I mean? And then and especially when Tyreek was there, because I mean when he was there at the beginning like that, they were kind of superhuman. At the beginning of their reign, and I know this firsthand because they they beat the Niners on the way to their first title in the Super Bowl, and I'll never forget. I think we did the pod on it, the post game pod on it. I remember it, and I remember the feeling I was sad, but I wasn't totally upset, which is weird to be because your team loses in the Super Bowl, but I'm like, well, it was Patrick Mahomes, man. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, we held out as long as we could.
Exactly.
We had Garoppolo and they had Mahomes. Like, we held out as long as we could, and then once Mahomes just broke through that wall, that was it.
Yeah.
But those times they were superhuman. You know what I mean? Like, they just seemed like nothing can stop them, and now it's like they came closer to the median, with everybody else. And,
I agree.
So that's where, that's where I'm thinking like Baltimore's got a shot. I'm with you. Like, I think next year, if Rashee Rice becomes a number 1 receiver, I'm not sure, but they could be in a position to go get one again. I don't know who that would be, but if they go and get another one like that or draft somebody that's like that, then this reign of terror is going to last even longer. Especially if Pacheco is still going to be that, because I think he's a good running back too. They don't use him quite often as they should, but like I think this is the year to get him. I'm kind of with you with that. But Baltimore has a habit of, like, at least in this Lamar era, they have this habit of choking at the wrong time in the playoffs. Like, there's no secret that they haven't had much playoff success during this period, but I felt like it was always because they've been, like, pretty one-dimensional, and it always bit them in the ass when it came to the playoffs because it was just too much Lamar running, and you know what I mean, and then trying to pass. But now it's like the comparison between Lamar, when he was winning his first MVP and now this season where he could be winning his second MVP, he's a little more seasoned. He's a better pocket passer, and he still runs, but you don't feel like he's like it's like continuous design runs by the team. Where I think the overall game, Baltimore's run game is good. Their O-line is really solid. Their receivers have been more solid. I know they lost Mark Andrews, but I
he's coming back.
Is he coming back for this game?
Calvin's coming back this game.
Oh shit! I didn't know that. Okay,
coming back this game.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. The stars are aligned for them right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Because Casey's missing they're missing one of their own linemen is not playing this game, right? Like one of their top own linemen.
Joe Thuney is not playing.
Right.
Deebo Samuels did come back today. He had a little bit of a shoulder injury. He got banged up last game.
Roger, I figured for sure if he was even 40%, like, he's going to play, I figured they're going to load him up with so much drugs, they're going to have to, like, pump his stomach after the game.
Probably.
But
if you give him some charcoal.
Right? But I feel like the stars are aligned for them. I didn't know Andrews was coming back. The stars are aligned for these guys, man.
Yeah. I find the biggest change with Baltimore, I get it. 3-1, not really a good record. But I do find that the biggest change with Baltimore this year specifically was the change of their offensive coordinator.
Right.
When they switched from Greg Roman to Todd Monken, it just made a huge difference. you started seeing he wasn't running as much as he used to. They weren't focusing as much on the run game as they are on the pass game. I
Right.
feel like everything kind of got leveled out. They picked up that wide receiver. What was his name? What was his name from Baltimore?
Flowers. Zay Flowers.
Flowers. Yeah, say Flowers. This guy always gets open. And the passing game just literally took off. And now it's like they could beat you any way they can, any way. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They could run the ball. They'll run the ball down your throat, and their running backs will score like 5, 6 touchdowns. They could pass it on you. Andrews has been out literally for the past 5, 6 games.
Yeah.
No, they never even skipped a beat.
Yeah.
They've still played phenomenal. And Lamar Jackson, if all else fails, this guy could still break a run for 50 yards.
Yeah.
This guy had 2 running touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns last game. You can't ask anything more from your quarterback than that.
Yeah.
So if there's any year for them to beat them, it's going to be this year. And if they don't, shoot, I don't know when they ever will be, to be honest with you.
I got to give Kansas City their respect, though, because this run is historic. Like, we're at the point now where we're starting to get tired of the greatness. You know what I mean? Like, this is the part of the show where we're getting tired of the greatness. Because since Mahomes started at QB, Raj, they've made it to the AFC Championship at minimum every year.
6 times.
6 times.
Yeah.
Like, six
times in 6 years.
Right. They went to the Super Bowl 3 times. Well, 3 times. They won twice.
Yep.
And he's definitely been the best quarterback, since he's been starting. He's been the best quarterback of his generation. And I would say maybe Lamar is like second or third on that list.
I agree.
But and I mean, again, I think that beast Burrow, I think that guy's a monster. Like when he's healthy, there's so many good quarterbacks right now, but like that guy's a whole other story. Excuse me, whole other story. But he's a monster in himself
When he's healthy.
And
I think that's the biggest problem with Joe Burrow. I mean, the best asset in a quarterback is availability. That's how I should say it.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of the times he's injured, and unfortunately, it doesn't give his team a good chance of actually winning. I do like that guy who backed him up, though. What was his name?
Browning or whatever his name was.
Browning. Yeah, he was pretty good. Like, they didn't really skip a beat when he came in.
Yeah.
They kind of picked up where he left off. So I mean, I like Joe Burrow. I do like him, but he's got to stay healthy, man, because he can't stop. Like, I feel like it's every second season this guy's getting taken out with some sort of injury.
Yeah. But I mean, the difference between I think the Kansas City that we've been seeing in the past and this year is the stat to me was impressive because in these 6 years, I never realized this. Last week was their first playoff game on the road.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't realize that. I'm like, when you think about it, I'm like, holy shit. So every year they've had the first or second seed, usually number 1 the whole entire time.
Yeah,
and that's wild. They've never the Mahomes never played a playoff game on the road. That's crazy to me. That's wild. Yeah. You know what I mean? And to me, it's like it's kind of similar to the Pats, and this is what makes this game very interesting on Sundays because it's similar to the Patriots, where it's like you have so much playoff experience over another team. Like there's literally no scenario at this point now where they're going to be uncomfortable in. You know what I mean? And they understand how to lean on that. You know what I mean? So it's like a team like Buffalo, but Baltimore, where it's like they haven't had much playoff success. They haven't gone. They've usually been 1 and out. In this Lamar era, it's like, when the game gets tight and there's certain situations happen, that at the very least, Mahomes and them aren't going to choke. They're not going to get nervous.
And that's it. And that's what makes them so dangerous.
Yeah.
They're getting to the point where it's like they've been there, they've done it, they've seen it all before. I mean, I can't put Mahomes on the same level of Brady because I still feel like he still needs to win a few Super Bowls. He still needs to, obviously get up there. He's still young, 100%. He has a good 10 to 12 years where he will have that chance to surpass Brady, 100%. But what I can't say is in that 6 years, he's been to the playoffs every single year. He's either made it to a Super Bowl or made it to a conference final. And, he's been successful, and that's something. Because when you're going up against a team like that, they will never be out.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you bet against them, they will never be out. And Patrick Mahomes will always keep them in there. They're battle tested.
I'm like you. I don't want to see a Swifty Super Bowl. I just don't want it. I just don't want it. I want Usher in Vegas to have all the attention in terms of musical performances or just musical anything. I don't want to see Taylor Swift dancing to Usher in the stands. I don't want to see any of that, man. I just please save us, Baltimore. Lamar, you got Lamar, for the love of God, please.
Save my last hope, Lamar.
Save
Jesus.
us from 2 weeks of hell. It's already annoying. From the first game, it was already annoying. So I can't imagine 2 weeks of Taylor Swift and the Swifties going all over. Roger, I don't want to see that at all, man.
Nobody does, Calvin. Nobody does, man. Nobody does. Yeah, so we're gonna see, man. I mean, my money, like I said, I love Baltimore. I love their team. I like the way they're built. When you're going against the champ, in order to be a champ, you got to beat the champ. And let's just say, I honestly, truly feel that whoever wins this game might actually win the Super Bowl. Sorry, Calvin. Just to let you know.
Well, outside of the Swifty hate I have right now, I'm not sure who's gonna win. To be honest with you, just two black quarterbacks playing at an elite level at what they do. I'm rooting like hell for Lamar, to get to his first Super Bowl. But, again, as we're talking about, this is the weakest Kansas City team they've had in the last 6 years. And, as you said, if it's any year to do it, it's now. But, man, it's Mahomes, man. No. I just, man, I don't know. I think Baltimore wins, especially, like I said, with the fact that Andrews is coming back. I must have missed that today, but I'm a little uneasy about it, though. I'm not totally confident. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think, by no means, is this going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a very close game.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the defenses. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think that in order for Baltimore to win, they're going to have to stop the run, and they're going to have to lock up Kelsey.
Yeah.
I think it's going to come down to the defense. I love Baltimore's defense. I love the way they're structured. I love the way they play. Blitz heavy. Linebackers are super fast. DBs could definitely hold their own. Yeah, I think it's going to come down to defenses. If Kansas City can find a way to slow down Lamar, and they need to stop the run. Last week, they did not stop the run at all. Yeah. Kansas City got run all over. It was actually embarrassing how badly they got gushed by the run last week. If Baltimore starts doing that with Gus Edwards, they're gonna just destroy Kansas City. They're gonna destroy it. The best part about running the ball is the fact that you're burning time off the clock as well. So you're actually taking the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. So yeah, it should be a good game. It should be a really good game.
Now, with that said, we got the NFC matchup right now between the Lions and the Niners. Regardless of what happens on Sunday, is Detroit a winner?
I love Detroit. I really do. I feel like they're like Rocky. It's like Rocky going against Ivan Drago, literally. You can just tell Detroit has been.
Oh, you have them running up. You have them running up the mountains.
Yes, absolutely. They're running up the mountains. They run up the stairs. Yeah, whatever you want to say, it doesn't matter. They are definitely Little Mac going against Mike Tyson. I feel like they're kind of going against a juggernaut. Detroit's got a really solid team, and I think that I think that their GM did a really good job of bringing in really good quality players.
A great job.
Yeah, this year was obviously this made the difference when they picked up Laporta, and then they picked up running back, Jameer Gibbs. Yeah, he's been phenomenal. Those two were the best two pickups out of the whole flipping draft. Well, aside from Stroud, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're just two ballers. They're one of the reasons why I do like Detroit. Goff is playing pretty well. Goff has never been a superstar, but he's a solid quarterback and he's playing well. And he could definitely throw the ball. Now they could run the ball as well. I think their defense is their weak link. They have an okay defense, but I wouldn't say they have a good defense. And I think that's where San Francisco definitely will have the upper
The
hand.
advantage, yeah.
Yeah. But if you were to ask me, like, if I thought that it's possible that Detroit could beat San Francisco, I think so. And the only reason I say that is because Brock Purdy. Like, I mean, I do like Brock, but I do feel like he's a liability. I feel like if things aren't perfect for him, he doesn't perform at a high enough level to carry the team. I mean, who knows if everybody stays in, and if the Avengers if all the Avengers play, then I think they have a really good chance of winning. But I mean, if somebody gets injured, I don't know if he could put the team on his back and carry them to the win.
You know what? I should be cursing you out right now, but Roger, I've been telling you this all year. I'm like, Shanahan is I think he might be the best schemer in the league. And and the thing is, I don't know where the scheming line ends and where Purdy begins. And it's okay to be that way right now, because I think I've been saying this. I think he is like the difference between him and Garoppolo. You knew at some point, like, Garoppolo would have good games, but you knew at some point Garoppolo was going to have a bad game. You just hope whether he had a bad game or had a bad half, you just hope it wasn't at the worst possible time. And usually for us, it came at the worst possible time. You know what I mean? You just have a bad quarter, and that was the end of it.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Garoppolo, I mean, you and I have had the same assessment of Garoppolo. Like, I mean, he'll play well during the season, and then in the playoffs, at the worst possible time, this guy's a choke artist. He'll choke, or he gets injured. It's one of the two.
Yeah, it's one of the two. And Purdy's not that. Like, he protects the ball. He makes all the right decisions. Like, he's been great. I think he's been an incredible superstar game manager.
100%.
I'll say that much. And I'm like, and I'm still, I don't want to say I'm still on the fence. I'm in on Purdy. Like, that's, I'm going to ride with him. But those 3 games where they lost, they went on a 3-game losing streak when Trent Williams and Debo got hurt. And, excuse me, you kind of saw it at that point, right? He didn't have his best receiver. He didn't have his top left tackle. And then from there, it's like you saw the struggles. Even with the scheming, you saw the struggles. You know what I mean?
100%.
And then on top of that, too, it's like, and call me crazy, because, like I said, I don't think, and I'm not saying this to knock Purdy, because I think that's actually a good position to be in. Correct me if I'm wrong if I'm saying this. This might be blasphemous. This might be blasphemous for me to say this. But I'm going to say this anyway. I mean, if you want to do parallels, where he's at right now, isn't that what Brady was when he started?
I can say that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm not crazy then. All right.
Yeah.
Right.
Brady was
gold star for me. Gold star for me.
Yeah. Brady was a game manager when he first started off.
When he first started. I'm not saying his whole obviously not his whole career. We know that. But
no.
But
the first 3-4 years?
Yeah, the first couple of years, first 2-3 years, he was a game manager. He was a good game manager, and then he started becoming Brady.
100%. That is true. I mean, he was he wasn't a flashy guy. He didn't do anything really particularly well. But he made really good decisions. He managed the ball well. He managed the game, the strategy, or whatever the game was, and he didn't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what Brock Purdy is right now. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I'm hoping he takes part in like he repeats Brady's path, obviously, of being selfish, because I want another 7 Super Bowls. But at the same time, I'm like, you could kind of see the parallels a little bit, just in that sense where it's like, Brady was a great game manager. He was a great game manager for those first couple of years, and then by the 3rd Super Bowl, it was like, okay, like now he's still running the schemes, but now you can see this is Brady too. You know what I mean?
It was all back then. It was all defense too.
Right,
the defense basically carried the team, and the run game.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And the run game. So it's like, so seeing it here, it's like Purdy has the luxury of having all these weapons. Like, you call them the Avengers, and you're not lying, right? Like, there's so many weapons the Niners have that he can throw the ball to. I mean, even our backup running back is tight. You know what I mean? Even our backup running back would be starting on like at least half the league right now.
Probably even more than that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say more than that. You're right. I would say at least 20 teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But you have one of the best offensive linemen in the offensive lines in the league. You got Ayuk. I don't have to go down the list. You know all the guys, but I'm just like, to have that and then have McCaffrey to either give him the ball or throw it or be able to throw it to him. It's like it's hard. It's almost hard to make a mistake. You got to be pretty bad to make a mistake at the same time. So that's why I'm like, as much as I like Purdy, I don't disagree. I can't take your head off on this one because I'm like, I've been saying this for the last 2 years, and I'm like, he is getting better because this year he's one of the 5 finalists for MVP this year, right? Along with McCaffrey and Mahomes and not Mahomes, sorry, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I think I'm missing somebody else off the top of my head, but like he's top 5. You know what I mean? So like I can't knock him. I can't totally knock him. He's been incredible, but I'm with you. I'm kind of like, and I was in Trinidad watching the Green Bay game, and I'm like, he was making some mistakes where you're just like, oof, like there was a couple of pick sixes he almost threw.
Oh, I saw that.
So you're just like, ooh, thank God, they didn't catch it. That's where it's like it's a little worrisome there. You know what I mean? But we're gonna see what happens. But to circle back to Detroit for a second, though, I gotta give props to them because, when Dan Campbell first got there, I don't know if you remember do you remember his first press conference? When he was talking about like super intense and eating kneecaps and shit,
I do remember that. You look like a psychopath.
Yeah, you're just like, this guy's gonna be in the unemployment line in 2 years. This is what's gonna happen. For sure he's gonna be like a defensive coordinator on some team, within 2-3 years. By the time that speech is over. But towards the end of last season, though, they started turning it around, if you remember, right? And they were giving teams a good fight. They were like a spoiler, but it was like you could see like, man, I think there's something happening in Detroit. And you figured there was a chance they might ride the momentum, but it looked like Minnesota was just – it just looked like they were about to take over the division because what Kirk Cousins was doing and then what Jefferson was doing and the run game, and it just looked like Minnesota might have a handle on this for a couple of years. But, to say that you saw this coming, that they'd be the NFC Championship game, for the first time since we both were in the 8th grade – you'd be lying. You know what I'm saying? You'd be lying.
I mean, to be honest with you, when I saw they traded away Hutchinson to the Vikings, I thought that was going to be a big blow for them because he did everything. He was a great blocker, caught the ball well. Like, he was a top-ranked tight end. And the fact that they literally went and drafted Laporta, and I think it was like even the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And he came in, and this guy, he completely balled out. They did not skip a beat.
No.
If anything, I think they got better.
I was about to say, I think it was actually even better.
Yeah. I mean, that says a lot about this team. I didn't think they were going to be this good, but they always showed flashes of being a really good offense. But they were missing a few pieces. And like I said, once they got Jahmyr Gibbs, and once they got Laporta, it's like they just took off.
They just took off.
They just took off, man. And now it's like they're playing some really good football. They are very, very hard to stop. Very, very hard to stop.
Yeah, because that two-man tandem of Gibbs and Montgomery, man, like it kind of reminds me of the Saints a few years back with Ingram and Kamara, where it's you just don't know which either one of them can get hot, and then and they're just riding them, right? But also you still have Amon St. Brown, Amon St. Brown, he's been. I mean, I'm surprised. I don't know how he didn't make the Pro Bowl this year, but I mean that's a Pro Bowl player.
That's embarrassing. The fact that he didn't make a Pro Bowl this year is embarrassing.
Yeah,
he's as close to being a superstar as any other wide receiver. Oh, I'd say he's definitely top 10. I wouldn't say he's top 5, but he's definitely top 10, 100%. And this guy played like an absolute stud this year. He caught everything, and he's just a phenomenal player, man. So I mean, Detroit's got some dogs on them.
Yeah, no, I'm actually proud of them. Like honestly, if it wasn't for the Niners, I'd be rooting for them to make it to the Super Bowl. But like,
Yes, sir.
I love the storyline. You know what I mean? Like they grinded, man. That franchise has had their face in the mud for so long.
Oh my God, for so long.
So
That's
long.
why I felt, it was really it was like a feel good story when I saw them actually win a playoff game. You saw people crying in the sidelines and fans just going crazy, and I was like, this city really needs this win. If they go to the Super Bowl, oh my God, I don't know what's gonna happen. Detroit is gonna lose their shit.
My favorite clip is the GM in the elevator when he was yeah, and he's screaming, and I'm like, yo, like you can see, man, that the hard work is paying off. But
exactly.
And with that said, though, at the same time, this is where you go back to experience, right? I mean, they were within a couple plays of losing that first game, and even last week, even last week against Tampa, it's like a drive here and there, like Tampa might have tied that game.
And they barely squeezed it out against Tampa. I agree with you. I do.
Yeah, so it's like that experience is where I think it kind of comes back into play. You know what I mean? It's so like I think it's going to be a good game, but I guess I'll give my prediction now. But I expect the Niners to go through, and I'm not even because I'm being biased, but home field advantage, much more playoff experience. Dominance on both sides of the ball, like on offense and defensive lines. I trust I trust Purdy more to pick apart the lines than I do trusting Goff to pick apart the Niners.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? And I think the Niners are on a mission, man. Like they've been hungry ever since Purdy hurt his elbow in the NFC Championship game in Philly last year. You know what I mean? Like the whole year they've just been playing with a chip on their shoulder. Almost starting fights before games and. They've been there, like it's all set up for them to go to Vegas, man. Like we're ready to go, man. Like I think it's time. But with that said, I think it's gonna be a good game, though. I do expect a good game.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. Me personally, I think I'm going to go for Detroit. I'm going to go for the underdogs,
Fuck you,
man.
Roger. Fuck you.
I love that offense. I think it's going to give the 49ers fits. Like I said, the only thing I'm worrying about is the defense. But I think if they get pressure on Brock Purdy and they somehow magically stop McCaffrey, I think they'll have a really good chance of winning this game. Offensively, I feel like they can go toe-to-toe with the 49ers. It's just the question is, once again, experience, and I agree with you on that. Experience. I mean, the 49ers have been here before several times. This is the first time Detroit's ever been here.
Yeah.
But Jared Goff has played in a Super Bowl before, so let's not forget that.
That's true.
Right? And he is the leader of the team, so I'll give that to him. But I mean, the playoffs is a completely different beast. It's anybody's game. When you start getting to like the quarterfinals and the conference finals, all the teams are good. All the teams have their strengths, all their teams have their weaknesses, but they're all strong teams, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. On paper, the 49ers should win, no doubt. But, I just feel like Detroit is just a scrappy team.
They are.
And, you never know. You never know in the NFL.
Underratedly, they're second on rush defense. Like, they're actually second overall.
That's not bad.
But their defense isn't the greatest, though, because their passing defense is they're 27th. So that's where I'm like, I trust Purdy to pick them apart more.
It would have had a better chance if Debo wasn't playing. If Debo wasn't playing, I almost feel like it would have been like a level playing field.
Yeah, I agree.
But with Debo playing, I don't know, man. I don't know.
He's not missing that game. There's no way in hell he's missing that game. I think even if his shoulder was separated, they would find a way to just prop it up. We can have Brady's shoulder somehow.
I agree. He's going to be chewing like codeine and stuff.
Oh, yeah, my God. Injecting it, making him drink it, sniffing it. You know what I'm saying? Rubbing Robitussin on it, putting splints of wood. Like, he'd be playing in that game. There's no way he's missing that game. No way in hell.
Drinking ketamine. Yeah, man. He's he will be feeling no pain, Calvin. That's for sure. At least for about 2 hours.
Yeah. Like I said, they'll have to pump his stomach after the game, but During that game, he's gonna be totally fine.
He might flatline by the end, but he'll be fine during the game.
Yeah, they'll revive him. He'll be in Vegas in 2 weeks. It'll be no problem. He'll have no problems there. It'll be fine. But yeah, but you think Detroit's gonna win? Okay, all right. Do you think Detroit's gonna win, or you're rooting for Detroit?
I'm rooting for Detroit. Do
Okay.
I think Detroit's gonna win? I think San Francisco's gonna take it, but I think Detroit has a good chance. They have a puncher's chance.
Yeah, that's fair. You can root for the story. That's fine. I'm okay with it. I don't hate Detroit. Like I'm fine with it. But yeah, like I said, I just think right now it's like the Niners, they're just on a mission, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because last year, like, when you hear all the players talking, they felt like we should have beat Philly last year if Purdy didn't go down. Like that was a talk the whole summer. That was a talk even during the year. They were like, yo, we would have been in the Super Bowl if he didn't get hurt. So it's like I think they're just carrying that mantra. Like we basically have like unfinished business right now.
100%, 100%. And I mean, yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. It will be interesting to see what happens in the Super Bowl, because I think regardless of who they go against, whether it's KC or whether it's Baltimore, I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be a tough game for them, I believe, anyways. Because I mean, I feel like Baltimore basically handed them one of the worst beatings they had all season.
Mm-hmm.
And KC is just KC. I mean, they've got the experience. They got Patrick Mahomes. They always make it a game. So, I mean, yeah, should be pretty interesting to see what happens.
No, like I said, I expect a great weekend of ball, man. This is the time of year that we expect. And then after this, we gotta wait. As football fans anyway, we gotta wait until next fall. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you know, all the fantasy and all the betting, it's like you got to get it in now.
So true.
You only got 3 games to bet on games if that's what you like to do. But yeah, but like I said, I feel like right now in my heart, what I want is Baltimore and like a rematch, Baltimore and the Niners. Like I want a rematch of that Christmas Day game. Where admittedly we got punched in the mouth. I'm like, I don't know what the hell happened. Like, honestly, I won't lie. That's when I really started to respect Baltimore, because I at first I was like, yo, I know that Baltimore is always good. You could pretty much count it out all the time, but that's what made me say, like, oh shit, like, yo, these guys are really for real. Like I really took them serious after that, because I'm like we that's the only game we got spanked like that when we were healthy.
It's true. It's so true. And I agree with you. I'm right there with you, man. I knew Baltimore was good. I saw them beat up on some good teams.
Right.
But until they punched San Francisco in the mouth.
In San Fran, too.
In San Fran. And they beat them pretty damn bad. I was shocked. I would have put, like, not to say I didn't think that Baltimore was a good team, because I knew Baltimore was a good team.
Right.
But I just thought San Francisco was just that much better.
Yeah.
Right? Like if Baltimore, you know, if Baltimore was I don't know, if Baltimore was the Avengers, then San Francisco was the Justice League.
Right.
You know? I just found that they were just that much better. And then just to see them just kind of get, you know, they got beat by the run, they got beat by the pass. They shut down they didn't really shut down McCaffrey, but they slowed him down enough that he wasn't that big of a factor. And then, you know, they just started taking out guys. Like I think Debo got injured at that point, and they were just, it was shocking. Like, honestly, man, I sat there and I was watching the game, and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like everybody's saying San Francisco is going straight to the Super Bowl, and they've got the best defense and the best offense in the league. And then Baltimore came into their house too. Came into their house, opened up their fridge, took out their food, made themselves a sandwich, left everything out, you know, walked upstairs into their bed, pushed a blanket aside, sat next to their wife, turned on the TV, and started watching TV in their house. And San Fran couldn't do a damn thing. They couldn't say nothing. Nope. They're just sitting there in the corner watching everything happen, and they're like, damn, like, honestly, it was not something crazy, you know?
Admittedly, we're like, just let us know when you're done.
Exactly. By halftime, I was like, okay, how much time do they have in this game? Like, what the hell's going on? It was a pretty big beatdown. So I mean, I like to think if they play them a second time, San Francisco will be a little bit better. I mean, they'll be ready for them, right?
Yeah.
They'll probably learn from the first time. But
yeah, I can't see that. You usually don't beat a team like that in sports twice.
I agree. I agree
with that. I expect that to be a much closer game. Like,
yep.
But like I said, that's the dream right now. Anything less than that on Baltimore's side, it's like I almost don't want to watch the Super Bowl. Like I'm gonna have to like really like I'm gonna have to basically watch the game and just like be ready to like turn my head or watch the game on mute just so they don't talk about Taylor Swift. I'm so done with the Taylor Swift thing, man. I was done before it started. Because I knew where this was gonna go. You saw it already. Like it's at a point like by week 2, you're like, okay, she's in the stands. Okay, cool. Can we watch the game? Can we watch the game?
Exactly.
So I just don't expect them to like to relent on that now. Like if they make the Super Bowl, we're just, oh my God. Like I said, Usher may as well just move aside and let her take the stage.
Oh, Brittany Holmes is insufferable, but now her and Taylor Swift together. I'm like, God damn it. God damn it. Somebody needs to stop this reign of terror. Somebody needs to do it.
Please.
And you know what? I could honestly say I understand when everybody was cursing Brady when he was making it to like a Super Bowl every second year and making it to the conference finals. I get it now. You guys, you didn't hate Brady. You just hated the fact that they were always winning and they were always in the, always competitive and always in the playoffs. I get it. Because this is how I feel about Kansas City now. I'm kind of like, you're seeing greatness, and I do love Patrick Mahomes and the fact that he's black. Like you can't beat that. But on the same note, I'm like, God, I want to see somebody else come in there and win.
Yeah. Like I said, man, I don't have an issue. I don't actually have an issue with I never had an issue even with Brady. I was totally fine with Brady, to be honest with you. I was totally fine with him. Never had a problem with him. Even amongst the winning, there were some years where I did root against them, but for the most part, like honestly, when they won, I was like, like they're a good team. I actually enjoyed. I like watching intelligent, high IQ teams in all sports, man. So like that's why I appreciate it. They never bothered me that way. But I'm not saying Kansas City isn't that, because they are that. It's just the Swifties thing. I just know. If any Swifties listening to this, I'm going to get pummeled. I'm just going to get killed. But but I'll take it. I'll take it. I don't even care. I'll take it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Like, it's just one more thing we got to deal with.
No, absolutely. Well, you know what, Raj? Let's wrap this up and let's reconvene next week with like our awards and just breaking down the playoffs so far.
Yep, absolutely. Sounds great.
All right, sir. But as always, thank you for coming on the Ave. It has been a pleasure, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for checking out the first episode of the Ave Podcast for 2024. Thank you and shout outs to the friend of the podcast, Roger Calendar. We'll be back to break down our NFL award winners and the rundown of the playoffs next week. That one should be out next Friday. I'm also going to drop an episode of Memory Lane next week as well. Excuse me. After the Super Bowl, I'm letting it be known. I'm breaking down 2 classic albums, one of which is a 20th anniversary. I'll let you figure it out. It may be controversial nowadays, considering who the person is, but I'm doing it anyway because it's that important. And with February coming up at the end of the month, you can also look forward to the annual State of the Raptors address, especially in light of the new rebuild. All right, I'm excited for it all. Either way, 5 stars, hit me with them. The website, southsharav.com, tap in. The like and favorite buttons, click on it, please, and thank you. And we'll meet up again next week. All right, so for Roger Calendar, this is Cal C. And you just tuned into the latest episode of the Ave Podcast right here on South Shore Ave Radio. All right, until next week, we out. Peace.